Police officers work each day to keep the public safe. We failed to do this at Hillsborough in those tragic events in 1989. On behalf of the leadership of the service, I am deeply sorry for the tragic loss of life and for the pain and suffering that the Hillsborough families have experienced in the years that have followed. Collectively, changes made since the Hillsborough disaster and in response to the Revd James Jones report aim to ensure that the terrible police failures made on that day and in the aftermath can never happen again. Police chiefs today are committed to responding to major incidents professionally and with openness and compassion for the families involved and affected. Much has changed since the awful events of that day, and we're determined to continually learn and develop our practice and ensure that no further families suffer in the way that those from Hillsborough have. All police forces in England and Wales have signed up to the Charter for Families Bereaved Through Public Tragedy. In signing this, the forces commit to support the bereaved, to protect the vulnerable, to approach public scrutiny with candour and never to attempt to defend the indefensible.
Policing has profoundly failed those lost in Hillsborough tragedy and those profoundly affected by it in the many years since the Hillsborough disaster. We are sorry that we got it so wrong. Policing was the main cause of the tragedy that happened that day, and we recognise that the impact of the tragedy has continued to blight the lives of those affected by it ever since and will continue to do so. We are working across policing to develop and change the practice and culture of the way we go about our work so that we're transparent and ethical, and this needs to be supported by the best possible training and the highest standards. We've already made significant changes, the way in which we have dedicated, trained family liaison officers to respond to tragedy and the loss of loved ones, the way in which we maintain our records so that we can understand what happened when things do go wrong. And then later this year, we'll be releasing a revised code of ethics that has embedded and supported material to bring it to life for everyone involved in policing so that they can go about their business with openness, transparency and candour. I've been a police officer now for over 35 years. The appalling events of the Hillsborough tragedy have had a very significant effect on my career and the way I go about my work. Policing never stands still. Events don't stand still. We either go forwards or we go backwards. Policing is committed to the reforms that we set out in the response to this tragedy. We need to be ethical and transparent and, of course, ultimately keep people safe. And that is my commitment.